Welcome to Kev's Travel Stories. Each week I'll be bringing you a story from the weird and wonderful world of travel, a world that can change the way you see life and love and even the way we find meaning. Places that are iconic and sometimes surprising and even terrifying. So sit back and enjoy while we go on a magical mystery tour together. Welcome to Kevin's Travel Stories, and I have a wonderful guest here, Anita Thomas, who is the country manager for Emirates in Ireland. I have had the pleasure of travelling with Emirates on long-haul destinations several times, and the A380 Airbus, I suppose it's the equivalent of Concorde that used to be.
Yes.
And I've travelled a lot of long haul, and I don't think there's anybody more experienced that I could have as a guest to give us some guidelines. If you are going on a long haul flight, how can you really get the most out of it, and how can you limit the exposure to very different time zones and the circadian rhythms and the health issues and the general downside of traveling long haul. So Anita's going to share her vast reservoir of knowledge, and I'm really looking forward to hearing her tips.
Thank you. So like you, in terms of aircraft, I've taken journeys just to travel on particular aircraft, and some of those might have been longer than needed, and long haul can take it out of you. I suppose for me as well, obviously I travel for business, but I have a young family and I would have been travelling long haul with them for quite a long time. First of all, with young kids, if you're travelling with young kids, check your flight schedule and your flight time. So for us, Emirates operates 2 flights a day from Dublin to Dubai. We have an afternoon flight and we have an evening flight. I would have always picked the evening flight when I'm travelling with them. So generally we would get to the airport early. I would try and actually feed them at the airport and tire them out a little bit so that actually when we get on board, I'm not as worried about them, that they're kind of ready for sleep, they can put on their in-flight entertainment and they can drift off themselves. So I think it's important for stress on parents in particular to ensure your first concern is obviously making sure your kids are happy and quiet for other passengers.
So if you have a family, particularly a young family, pick an evening flight if it's available for a long distance.
Absolutely, yeah, because naturally to try and get some sleep into them, they're not going to sleep the whole flight anyways. So it's trying to have them tired that when they wake up, they will be fed on board, some in-flight entertainment, and actually you're probably down to the last 3 hours of a flight at that stage, which is manageable because you're into short-haul territory at that stage.
And that's manageable because you've had some extraordinary, we were talking about your long-haul experience, and of course that involved Concorde at one stage.
Yes,
what was
very
that like?
Well, that was long-haul and extremely short distance in terms of travel time. I think we did 3 hours, 25 minutes, something like that, from Heathrow to New York. And the same, it was actually a bit shorter on the return. I still can't imagine how I've done it. And as much as I was so excited and couldn't believe it, I'm trying to imagine that back in me now because it was such a wonderful experience. I suppose everything is so much smaller than you expect. The windows were tiny. It was a real narrow tube. The seats, while extremely comfortable, there was 2 asides. They were tied together. So it was really the speed that Concorde brought. It was that experience and the elegance of it.
Could you get a sense of the speed, Anita?
You could on takeoff when you feel that push back into your seat. Not quite pressure on your chest, but you're kind of having to fight against yourself a little bit if you were to kind of bring yourself forward. As well, then you have the clock on the front and when it was telling you when you were getting to Mach 2. And it was that where you kind of see the stratosphere, so you can actually see a slight curvature. And it's the nearest I'm ever going to come to space. So until the next big thing, I suppose, in aviation.
So that was a very memorable long-haul experience.
Absolutely, yes. And likewise, that was me on my own, which is perfect. Most are with a family. And most, I know that travel Emirates are travelling with a family. And that can be a huge stress for a lot of people. It is the organisation of everything. It's getting everything ready. It's getting to the airport. You really just want to get to your destination. And for a lot, the bit in between isn't an enjoyable part. So it's trying to make that as comfortable for you as you can. Definitely before long haul. For me, I'm normally packed and everyone's packed about 4 or 5 days. I have the suitcases packed. I always say go back 2 days before you fly. Take out at least one item of everything. So if it's one top, one trousers, one skirt, we all overpack. Every single time we overpack. Even though we're not buying anything when we're abroad, we all come back with something. And it is to make room for that. We forget as well, and sun holidays in particular, compared to winter holidays. It's swimwear. It's really light stuff. A lot of the times you're only wearing it for a couple of hours. You're in the pool most of the day. Some of those, especially for kids, if it's just little dresses or that, can be thrown on them the next day. And everything is so accessible now. So I'd say definitely pack less. So definitely review your suitcase before you go.
And 2 days or 3 days beforehand, start the process.
Oh, absolutely. You would want it packed, I'd say 2 days, definitely. And at that stage, I'd be starting to remove items. So mentally now I'm thinking, right, for this child, I have this, this, this. And then depending on how many children you have, some of mine now are, because they're similar in age, you know what, if that gets dirty, there's another top there. But we do bring too much, far too much. So definitely trim down what we actually bring.
That's a brilliant tip. And that's a really good idea to edit your wardrobe.
It's rare you meet somebody who has worn everything in their suitcase, because we all bring the just in case items and we never use them.
So get rid of the just in case items.
Gets rid of the just in case items. A key part, especially with families. I've done it before myself, where I've arrived at a destination and I thought, we'll wait and see what's there when we get there and we'll have a look around. And you kind of get into this lazy format of first day, you kind of laze around by the pool, not doing an awful lot. Second day, you're getting lazier. So definitely prior to going away, book at least one activity. Just one activity that gets you out of your resort or your hotel, or depending where it is you stay. Because once you get out, you'll start to see a little bit more and you'll want to see more. And it is that not everyone is good at exploring destinations. And previously, I would have gone to destinations and not left the resort and thought I needed to switch off. Now I make sure one thing is planned and booked before we travel.
That's very interesting, because Sarah Slattery, who I know you know, the travel expert, when she was giving a travel tip, she said exactly the same thing. She said, make sure you do it on the first day as well, because otherwise you will go into this torpor of lying like a beached whale.
Yes, I've done it many times. And I've come back and then people say, did you see? And I was like, God, no, I didn't. And I was mad at myself.
Yes.
Yeah.
So that's another one. Make sure that you've gone online or through your travel agent and booked some sort of excursion to explore the city or a local attraction. Excellent.
That's it, exactly.
Excellent.
Everyone tends to bring big bottles of shampoos and your conditioners, and we have body washes and we have, you name it. Like, they weigh quite a lot. A lot of time I've had accidents with spillage of them with the pressure of the aircraft. I have a clear little bag, and you can even get them in pennies, the little clear travel bottles. They do for the family. 9 out of 10 places you go to now have shampoo, have conditioner, have body wash, unless you have maybe a skin conditioner, you want something very specific. Because, again, pretty much everything is catered for nowadays. But we automatically think, and it's always the new bottles, even though we've half bottles left at home in the bathroom. Once you just get used to it, you won't pack a big bottle again.
When you're going for business and when you're going with family, what's the difference? So those who may be going on a business trip, a long-haul business trip, what's the difference in the preparation and how to make that work well?
A lot of my work traffic will always be Dubai. I'll have a little bit of Europe, but generally it is Dubai and beyond. So I have set kind of area in my wardrobe, and that's my travel work clothes. For me, it's quite simple. I look and I say, right, what am I going out to do? So I'll have my flying clothes, which generally tend to be loose and comfortable. So I know people tend to think, oh, I'll get dressed up, or the kids dressed up in their best. But actually, they just want something, a loose little pair of tracksuit or shorts or T-shirt, something comfortable. You're going to be sitting in a seat for a length of time. I know sometimes little dresses on girls, they look lovely, but they're not always that comfortable for them to sit for 8 hours on an aircraft. So for me, separate area of the wardrobe, I have about maybe 8 kind of warm business clothes that I bring. So it's very easy. I just think, right, what haven't I worn? I have a separate case and I have separate toiletries. So the mini one I'm talking about, the little clear bottles and the little bag, I have a separate one just for work. So I always keep the two separate. So I almost have a grab bag for the world that if I was to get a call to say, I need you out tomorrow, I can literally go home, I can walk to an area and just pull it out. So I don't have thinking to do.
And this is the bag that you're going to put in the hold?
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah.
And I think you're absolutely spot on if I'm going long haul with a pair of sort of tracksuit bottoms and a sweat top and some slippers.
Yep.
And then you can put everything away because you do get uncomfortable and you get sticky and
Yes.
you're sitting there 8+ hours,
Yeah.
up to 15 hours, depending on how long haul it is.
It is, that's
so
it.
I think that's a really important
Yeah.
tip. Anything else regarding the recovery and the sleep and the health tips as regards how you manage yourself so you are clear-headed as much as you can be when you're going into a business trip or you're with your family on a long haul?
So I am terrible for drinking water. And I mean terrible. I need to have run a marathon, I think, before I'd look for water. And that's never going to happen either. So it's the only time I drink water. Is on an aircraft. As soon as I get on board, I think, right, if I can just get a bottle of water in, I turn on the TV and I kind of think, right. So I kind of distract myself. I'm like one of the children. I'm trying to distract myself. Water is key. So it's keep fluids in you. Try and get some sleep. People I know say, oh, well, I'll try not to sleep on this one. And as you said, if you're travelling onwards beyond Dubai to Australia or New Zealand, and people say, oh, I'll try not to sleep on this one, I'll sleep on the next one. For that period of time when you're sitting down, you do need some sleep. So even for people, I'd say, don't go on with the intention of not going to sleep. Even if you can get an hour to an hour and a half of an 8-hour flight, you actually need that to carry you for the next leg of the journey. Nobody's going to sleep a full 8 hours on an aircraft. It's very rare would that happen. So definitely water throughout the flight. So fluids, so important. Little things. So I just put my legs out and turn my ankles. And again, for DVT and that, it's just really important that actually for your legs and you keep your ankles turning. There are times we are sitting at home and we're so in the habit of it that we're doing it under the table. So it does become habit, but it's really good. Like that, get up on a long haul flight, and even if it is to go to the loo, whether you need to go or not, it is to do that walk and just to stand up, because again, nobody sits for 8 hours in their own home in their most comfortable chair. So it is important that you do actually get up just to do that little walk. But fluids really is key.
And the other good thing about drinking plenty of fluids is going to get you up to go to the loo.
Toilet, exactly.
And they say, I think it's ideally if you can get up and have a stretch and a walk once every hour and a half. But if you're drinking, if you're chugging the fluids, you're naturally going to go to
Absolutely.
the loo.
We tend to, for long haul flights, and again for families actually. So before we travel, our kids will actually go onto the Emirates website. So the first thing they do is pick what films they're going to watch. So they look at what's newly released and they pick what they're going to watch. And for young kids, this is great because you know what? It's the excitement of getting on board and getting them locked into something quite quickly as well. So we'll have a look. But a lot of the time is going, right, so after this, I'm going to go to the loo to make that walk. You're around an hour and a half for a film. So it's actually perfect time saying, right, we'll watch this and then we'll go.
Have a meander.
That's it.
Any tips on what to drink, eat or avoid? Because I have friends who say they even travel business class and not one thing passes their lips, which is
No, I'm the opposite.
extraordinary.
I can't understand because for me, that's part of my travel experience. So I'm heading to wherever I'm heading to. I'm hoping to experience new things. It's as much for me the onboard food. I've had some of my best meals at different times in my life on board. I've tried things I'd never tried before. So for me, unless you're sensitive to or there are certain things wouldn't agree with you, I would say try new things on board. There is nothing I wouldn't try. I may not like everything, but I try everything.
Yes. And as regards alcohol, consumption of alcohol on long haul?
On long haul, it's like anything. Sometimes a little glass of champagne or a glass of wine with your meal. Don't drink throughout a flight. If you're drinking throughout a flight, you need to be matching almost a bottle of water to each drink.
Absolutely.
Again, just for hydration purposes, you would need to keep that going. But
Yeah, but as you say, a glass of champagne is one of the great gifts
Oh,
of going on long haul, and it's sort of like a
treat.
ceremony.
Yes.
I can't imagine anything better. Jet lag, any tips on getting over jet lag or dealing with jet lag or minimizing jet lag?
So weirdly, Dubai, at the moment, there's a 3-hour time difference that'll move to 4 hours. I'm trying to understand because I did Vietnam as well and I've done the Indian Ocean and various other places. Whatever it is coming from the east, I've never got jet lag. Now, I'm sure it's different if it's in Australia, New Zealand, where you're now into far greater time zones and
Yes.
you haven't a clue where you are or what country you're even standing in. But for me, I haven't had any. I would have had it more coming back from the west. I would suffer quite badly with it, even on a New York, which would be a short enough flight for long haul. Again, fluid's really important, but ultimately it's almost trying to fight that tiredness because when you arrive back in, your body is just saying, I need to shut down now. Give me a couple of hours. Try and get yourself to even 8 o'clock in the evening.
Yeah.
Because I came back from a trip and honestly, it took me nearly 4 days to get myself back on track because I did give in to the tiredness. I thought, I'm going to have an hour and I'm going to get up. And at no point was my body letting me get up after an hour. And of course, then I went into early evening. I was wide awake and I struggled to get out of that pattern.
Yes.
So sometimes it's fighting it, really fighting it the first day to try and push yourself through because you
So
will
you're
sleep
getting
the next
back
night.
on the local time
This
for going
is it.
to bed.
Yeah, definitely. But try and tie in with local time as best. And I know everything is listen to your body and absolutely you should. But there are times it can take an awful lot longer to come back. And it did take me 4 days.
Okay. I meet some people now who, particularly as they get a little older, say, oh, I'll never do long haul. What would you say to them?
You'd be mad not to. It's amazing last year, just hearing different people, different holidays, and in particular, people too hot in Dubai. I couldn't go there in the summer. And yet, Spain and France were hitting hotter temperatures and are not built for heat so in terms of air conditioning facilities around. So no matter where you went, there was nowhere to hide from it. Whereas a lot of countries that are in heat are built for heat. So there is the air conditioning, there is the outside areas that have the sprays and everything else to accommodate you. I think to limit yourself to just what's within a 3-hour range, I can't imagine it because there's so much out there. And I said to you every time I go back to Dubai or if Vietnam, any of these places, if anything, I want more and more. Once we're within Europe, amazing history, amazing everything else. And absolutely, you'll walk around and you go, oh my God, this is beautiful. But it's all beautiful, historic, but similar. You need to go further afield. If you truly want to experience different cultures, different foods, different ways of life, you need to travel further. And you're only going to get that by going long haul.
I absolutely, completely agree. I mean, my travels over to Asia and next will be Japan, I hope, and Latin America. It's so healthy for your psyche. It's so healthy for your spirit. And I think that this is the time when you are a little bit older because you have less commitments, more free time, maybe more cash. So absolutely, as long as you look after your heart and you look after the health and you go to your doctor and get aspirin or whatever it is.
Yep, absolutely key. But for Japan is on my hit list. But like that, I mean, we're talking about long haul. We're talking about Dubai is only an extra really 2 hours over New York.
Yeah.
Again, for Japan, for a Far East, I've never gone beyond Dubai without stopping in Dubai on the way back. And it's literally a night or two. It's a little reset. And you kind of feel, okay, now I'm only a short hop back home. But for me, I prefer to do it on the return. Other people would rather break their journey on the way out.
I actually experienced that this time out when I was going to Asia with Emirates. I stopped in Dubai and had that break. I think it was very interesting.
Yeah. For me personally, I rather the return. And I think this is me. I'm so excited, especially if I'm going somewhere new. I just can't wait to get there.
Yes.
So I have that excitement to keep me going for that journey. Whereas on the way back, then mentally, I'm breaking the journey and I can do like that. I'm now maybe only another 8 hours. I've got now a day or two break. I'm having my little rest and then I'm a short hop back in and I'm quite refreshed.
And that's going to help with jet lag and with the sense.
Yeah, definitely.
So it can actually be a very good idea, for example, coming back from Asia to take a break, to break down your flight, experience something new and prepare yourself for return.
Yeah, and that's it. You're breaking it into shorter runs for yourself as well, and you're giving your body the break in between.
Yes. Okay, and to finish off, an aspirational long-haul destination that you would recommend someone who says, okay, I'm going to dip into this, I'm going to try a long haul.
As a one-stop, Dubai is number one for no other reason. It's long haul in terms of it's over your 3 and 4 hours, and yet it's a new destination. Beyond that, again, it's really how adventurous people are, but Vietnam,
Okay.
definitely top
And
of the
why?
list. There was so much to take in, and it was so different from the way of life, from Hanoi to Ho Chi Minh City to Da Nang in the middle. I felt I was in 3 different countries in one visit. Yeah. It was an assault on the senses in an absolutely fabulous way.
Yeah.
And there was so much to take in. It's hard to describe to somebody what is the best thing or where should I go, because actually you need to see all of it.
And I couldn't agree more. I'd love to go and live there. It's just got everything, the weather, and this sort of mad American influence culture.
Yes, I found that. I nearly called it like a mini Las Vegas. It was all the lights, it was the mopeds going around. You couldn't but take in the energy and the atmosphere of it.
Did you go on a moped?
I did.
Okay. Isn't that the most crazy thing anybody can ever do?
We went to various places on a food tasting evening, but it was all on the mopeds. Oh, I never laughed as much.
Anita, what a total pleasure. We've got some great tips there and some great insights and some great suggestions for long haul and how to really get the most out of it, the packing in particular. So thank you very much. We'll post the fact sheet as well with the various things that you've mentioned. And thanks for sharing your wealth of experience.
My pleasure. Thank you very much for having me. Thank you.